Dear Chris, here we are again. It's fight week. I know that you're very young and new to the game. You're 14 years old, but I want to take you on a journey that you're about to embark on for the next 16 years. Right now, we're on the eve fighting for UFC 281. There's going to be a capacity crowd screaming their heads off at Madison Square Garden. I mean, seriously, Chris, you have committed yourself to your craft, overcame unfathomable adversity. You've remained resilient against the odds to earn an opportunity to show your skill sets that your life's work has gone into developing. And you get to do it in the same place that all the greats have gone to perform. Mike Tyson, Ali versus Frazier, McGregor versus Alvarez. Now Chris, El Guapo Gutierrez. But we'll get back to that in just a minute. As promised, we're going on a little journey. We're going to turn back the clock to where you're at now, at the beginning of the road. It's late 2000s. You're coming home from soccer practice. You get to the corner of Wesley and Silver, and you see this gym. You tell your friend's mom to drop you off. You go inside, and your mind's kind of blown. You look around, and you see people punching bags. You see people on the floor rolling around. You start thinking, what is this? You get to the counter and the coach approaches you. He says, can I help you? And you say, yeah, I got some experience in some of this. I've done some street fighting. He hands you a waiver and says, okay, Kimbo, obviously you're underage, you gotta get your parents' signature. You run home, you get your mom's signature, your dad's signature. Before they sign it, your mom tells you she doesn't really want to sign it because she knows that you're gonna get your butt kicked. Even though she says that, you still get the signature. You run back, you run to the gym, you turn it in, and it's history from there. The first class you get into, you get beat up. You got to spend the first couple of years of your career training before you got to see the fruits of your labor. Your very first fight you won, split decision. It was an amazing experience. You went 3-0 before you suffered your first defeat. And let's be honest, losing sucks. And you thought it was the end of the world, but it's okay. You have over 20 fights in your amateur career. You're at a crossroads, whether you want to choose fighting as a career or your dream, soccer. So I know soccer's been something you've been very passionate about your whole life. And so you choose soccer, you want to pursue it. But you get to college and you realize that the financial aid and all that's not going to kick in. And you get hit with a bill. Obviously, it's not something that's doable. So at that very moment, you decided soccer's not the way to go. You're going to pursue fighting. So you go on this amazing run. You're 8-0. Winning in general is hard. Starting your career is hard. Getting it started undefeated is an amazing thing to do. Through that journey, you've met some amazing people and you've done some amazing things. One of those people is Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. You met him at Sugar Creek Showdown. His brother was fighting. You guys were in the same RV. It's a broken down RV, really small. You won your fight that night, along with Evan Thompson, Stephen Thompson's brother. After the fight, Evan tells you that his dad and his brother want to meet you. You go up there, and it's Stephen Thompson and his dad. And they tell you that you're a good fighter and you have some really slick moves. I know, right? Kind of blows your mind that this A-list fighter is telling you that you got some good skills. That was just a green light in the path to let you know you were on your way. Now that you're at the regional level, you get to another crossroad, and you get an opportunity to fight for a top organization, WSOF, World Series of Fighting. At that time, you got scheduled to fight the #1 Russian in the world, Timur Valiev. And what an upset. You shocked the world. But on the flip side, you also suffered your very first defeat of your career to Timur Valiev. Again, losing sucks. What sucks even worse is the fact that the people you thought that were supposed to be in your corner, you come to find out they're really not. That night, the girl that I was with, her father told me that maybe you should find a different career. Maybe you're just not good enough. Maybe that the Russian you fought was just too strong and that, it's time to hang up the gloves. Keep in mind, you just beat the #1 Russian the fight before, the same guy you just lost to. And this guy's telling you that this guy's just too strong and just better than you. Even though in your personal life, you're facing these demons, people telling you you're not good enough, people that you thought were supposed to be in your corner, you also have some positive things out of it. You became a father, you moved to Colorado, and found a gym, Factory X, that became your new home. 3 weeks later, you have an opportunity to represent Factory X. You fight for LFA. You won that fight, and now you're on to the next opportunity. You get another opportunity, you get to fight Jimmy Flick. Keep in mind, you just beat Jimmy Flick prior years in a kickboxing fight. After the fight, he's telling you that he would mop the floor with you in an MMA fight, where you finally get that opportunity, and you destroy him. In the process of that fight camp, you and Coach Mark had a really good talk that served as a building block that got to blossom into something beautiful in the next coming years. Now you're at this point in your life where you're on the bubble. You're on these websites, fighters to look out for. You get your first LFA main event opportunity. You get to fight a tremendous fighter in Ray Rodriguez. At that time, you and Ray were the #1 and 2 guys. You and Ray were like two dogs staring at each other through fences, waiting for the time that you guys get to meet. This was an old-fashioned Texas shootout between the two top dogs. And now there was a lot of added pressure, knowing that the winner could get the call to the big show. Even with the added pressure, you still found a way to shine when the lights were the brightest. You locked up a first-round rear naked choke against a respected black belt to cement your status as one of the top unsigned prospects in the world. After this fight, you changed managers. Then, life started to happen really fast. You got signed to the UFC and made your debut 6 weeks later. You got a call from your manager. He told you he's got some good news and bad news. Of course, you wanted your veggies first, so you wanted the bad news. You wanted to be on the Contender Series. You found out you were not going to get the opportunity. So then on to the good news. You're going to get signed within 9 days to the UFC to make your debut against a very, very highly respected Raoni Barcelos, who was number 15 at the time. Well, once again, losing sucks. Yeah, you got to the UFC, but just getting to the UFC wasn't the goal. You and your friend, Jonathan Martinez, got to the UFC a month after each other. You both suffered defeats. You guys had a conversation. You guys didn't call yourself UFC athletes or UFC fighters until you guys got your first UFC win. This was something that you struggled with. It wasn't a physical struggle, it was a mental struggle. There was a bit of imposter syndrome. Am I really that good? These were questions that you asked yourself. Fortunately, you had a very strong support circle that helped you realize that if you can make it through the night, there's a brighter day. You will never forget that cold night that you spent lonely and crying at the end of the bed, contemplating, is life really worth it? But little did you know that that rock bottom moment would eventually become the fuel that feeds your fire. Part of what's helped your foundation is your faith. Finding your faith helped ground you, and it cleared up the vision as what's to come. A couple months later, March 2019, you get your first win, UFC Nashville. Emotions were high as you jumped on the cage. You broke down because you started realizing that hard work does pay off and life does come full circle. One of the fighters that you looked up to, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, was the main event in that fight, and you got to share the card with him. So look at you, all these years later, and now you get to share the dance floor with one of your idols. And now that you received your first UFC win, you can breathe a little and work through some of your struggles. Even though you're going through a really tough time in your personal life with this nasty custody battle, you didn't allow that to stop your positive light from shining through to the world around you. And now it's summer 2019 and you get another opportunity to go to South America and fight what's predominantly your fan base. You picked up a hard-fought decision, but hey, winning is winning, and winning is hard. And right about now, you thought you were smooth sailing, the waters were clear. Boy, were you wrong. Unfortunately, in the fight, you suffered a pretty major injury, what used to be considered a career ender. You tore your ACL completely. With this major injury, you had a lot of doubts. Of course, with your style very dynamic, you rely a lot on your knees, the way you move. So to have it surgically repaired put everything you knew into question. But you stayed committed and you trusted the process. Eventually, the whole world got shut down. So for you, your downtime from the injury wasn't the same because everyone was ultimately down because of the pandemic. Flash forward to your return. You knew you had to announce your presence with authority. It was cool to be a part of history bringing sports back to the world during the pandemic, but you made history yourself. You solidified yourself as one of the only fighters to have a leg kick finish. And even better, you did it with the leg that you got surgery on. So the next fight, you had a draw. We stubbed our toe on that one. They say losing sucks. That's like kissing your sister. But a draw? That's like making out with your grandmother. Over the next few months, you stayed hard at work, you stuck to the process, picked up another couple wins, and then made history once again. You are now the only fighter in UFC history with a leg kick TKO and a spinning back fist TKO. All of these experiences, all of these highs and lows have led you to where you are now. And now you're about to take on a former UFC champion in Frankie Edgar. This is the biggest opportunity of your life. Who would have thought all those years ago in a little old town, Greenville, Texas, did you think your name would be on the marquee lights, Madison Square Garden? It's time to go make history once more.